Hi guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome if you're new. I hope you're all doing well. Today we are back with the Dothething-athon TBR. This is a readathon hosted by Ashley from A Frolic Through Fiction. It's a week-long readathon where you basically just focus on your goals that you set yourself at the beginning of the year, whether that was to read more diversely, to read a certain amount of books, to read more audiobooks, to get into a certain genre. Any one of those goals or any goal that you had created at the beginning of the year, you can try and conquer during this week-long readathon. The readathon is hosted between the 26th of May to the 30th of May, so tomorrow as you're watching this the readathon has started. I am a sucker for a readathon and I excel most at week-long readathons. I don't know what it is. I can't do month-long ones because I forget they exist, and I like my sleep too much to do 24-hour and 48-hour ones. So week-long ones are where I really like try and succeed in readathons. My best readathon so far was last year during a week-long readathon where I read 8 books in 7 days. So I'm not aiming for that this time round because I still have a full-time job. I have other things to do at the weekend. Like I can't just like fully sit down and read because we're not in lockdown anymore. Like we can go to each other's houses now in England, so yeah, we can go inside people's houses. So I definitely have like weekend plans and all that sort of stuff. So I'm not taking it as hardcore as trying to do 8 books in a week, but I do want to participate and I do want to support Ashley because I do really enjoy her channel, and we used to connect back in the day when we both did book blogging. So, you know, I got to support the OGs, and it just seems like a really chill, fun readathon because you can kind of make it what you want it to be. If you want to read a certain genre, you can make it that. If you want to just try and read a number of books to try and keep up with your Goodreads goal, you can do that. You can literally do anything you want during this readathon, and that's why I love it so much. This is why I'm so excited for it, because we can just do what we want and it counts as being like successful towards the readathon. And there's no prompts, there's nothing, there's just whatever goal you want to try and accomplish this week. Do that goal and you have been successful. So my goal this week is to read all adult fiction. If you know me, then you know I'm trying to read more adult this year, just because I feel like I'm finally getting out of the YA genre. I'm not enjoying that many YA books at the minute, and I just think it'll be a fun week if I just focus heavily on adult fiction, whether that's contemporary or romance. So it's going to be just kind of 2 genres I mainly focus towards because that is my typical genre. And yeah, let's just go through all the books. I'm not going to read all these books. That's not likely. I have 8 books on this list. I've compiled a list of books that I can then pick between. So we have 8 in total. I'm hoping to get through half of them. That'll be brilliant. 4 books in a week. I tend to do 2 to 3 books a week. So I think pushing myself to do 4 means I'm actively participating in the readathon. I would like to class myself as if I like push myself to read more than I would usually. And I tend to read between 2 and 3 books a week. So I think aiming for 4 is a really good target. And those 4 books are going to be picked between the 8 books we're going to talk about today. So without further ado, let's just get into the books I might and might not read during this week-long readathon. The first book that is catching my attention to read this week is There's No Such Thing as an Easy Job by Tsumura. This is a book that I picked up at a whim on Waterstones when I first went back to a bookshop in God knows how long. It was my first time re-stepping into Waterstones, and this was a book that I picked up purely because of the cover, and then I read the blurb and it sounded interesting. And it's basically about our woman who goes to kind of a job agency one day being like, I need a job that's easy, that doesn't require writing or reading, just give me something. So she's sent to this office building to basically keep an eye on their security camera because there's someone in that office building who's an author who's storing stolen contraband. Then I think she kind of keeps going on loads of different like mundane jobs, and I don't really know, it sounded interesting. I got kind of hooked on the author storing like banned contraband. So yeah, we'll see. It's a chunk of a book to read during a readathon, but the margins are huge. I don't know if you can see that, like they're really big margins. So it's a possibility. The writing's big, but it is like 400 pages, so we shall see. The ratings on Goodreads are pretty average. There's a few people that I follow who've only rated it like 2 stars, 3 stars, but we'll see. It's a contender. We might not read it next week, we might. Yeah. The other physical book I would really like to get to, actually, a higher priority than There's No Such Thing as an Easy Job, is A Man I Used to Know by Gayle. Gayle has become one of my favourite authors. I have only read one of his books, but from loving that book so much that I've given it like a 5-star, I am hoping that I will enjoy all his other books just as much. And this is the other book I have on my physical TBR to read from him. This is about 2 main characters, James and Dani. James likes to stay on the safe side of life, not kind of really venturing out of his comfort zone, whereas Dani's very much like the risk taker and trying to do all these adventurous things in life. And then like on the blurb it says this incident happens, and I think these two come together and try to redeem themselves in some way. I don't know, it's Mike Gayle, so I had to pick it up, and yeah, it's a possible contender because it's not too long. It's less than 300 pages, and I read Mike Gayle's writing so quickly. I finished Half a World Away by Mike Gayle in 2 days, so this is a massive contender to read next week. Also on the Mike Gayle train, we have All the Lonely People, which is an ebook on my phone, and this basically follows an elderly man and his daughters moved to Australia, and they have weekly phone calls, and during these weekly phone calls, our main character Hibbert keeps lying to make sure that his daughter thinks he has his life together, but really he doesn't. He's really struggling without her, and apparently it's a really emotional read. I think all of Mike Gayle's stories are like heart-wrenching and tear-jerking. I definitely get that kind of vibe from him, having only read one of his books. So this might not be one I read during the week, but it's definitely a contender. But I'll most likely, if I read any Mike Gayle, it'll be The Man I Used to Know, just because the majority of my TBR this week is ebooks. So to try and get both of the physical books I've just shown into my TBR will rest my eyes a little bit during the evenings if I don't have to read everything on my phone. Continuing on the ebook train, I also kind of would love to get to Take a Hint, Dani Brown by Talia Hibbert. This is the second book in the Brown Sisters trilogy by Talia Hibbert. I have read Get a Life, Chloe Brown. I didn't love it. I gave it a really mediocre 3 stars. It wasn't for me. I just didn't vibe with the writing style. I didn't really think Chloe was a great main character. The only redeeming thing about the book was Red and his character arc. But people are saying that I would personally prefer Take a Hint, Dani Brown. India has actually said it to me personally, so I'm giving her another shot. It was only 99p on iBooks, so I was like, there's no harm giving the Brown sisters another go, basically. And I think having an adult romance that isn't tear-jerking, hopefully anyway, and is a bit more humorous and fun and smutty, will be a good mix between like the two. I have a feeling these might be too heavier reads, so having an adult smutty book like Take a Hint, Dani Brown might be a really good way to go. So that is on my contender list for next week's readathon. Next book I most likely will read because it is an audiobook on Scribd, and that is A Recipe for Persuasion by Sonali Dev. I saw this recommendation from Kat Reads a Lot's channel. I'll link her down below and up above in the cards for you. I love her channel. She has some great book recommendations, so I highly recommend you checking out her channel. This basically follows our main character Ashna, who is a struggling chef, and she's trying to keep her own restaurant afloat. So she's trying to come up with a strategy on how to do this. So when an advert for a reality TV cooking show kind of comes to town, she takes the opportunity to make it like a marketing scheme, I think, and like boost her restaurant. And then she meets someone there. I think the TV show you pair up with like a celebrity chef, and she gets paired up with this love interest, I assume, and I think it'd be a really cute, fun read. I do love books centered around food because both my parents are chefs, so I've always been kind of surrounded by that kind of food era of careers and jobs and stuff, so I think it'd be really fun to read this one. And that is an audiobook, so perfect for listening to while I get other jobs done around the house, while I work 9 to 5, because I am working. I always say 9 to 5 because that just rings off my tongue after Dolly Parton, but I do work 8 to 5, Monday to Friday, so having a few audiobooks, even if it's just one, definitely will benefit me during this week-long readathon. The next book I have on my tentative TBR for next week is A Match Made for Thanksgiving by Jackie Lu. This is a really short novella. I think it's about 150 pages. Yeah, it's 130 pages, so definitely a book I could probably smash out in one evening on someone's reading sprints, hopefully. Actually, yeah, Ashley just did announce that there's going to be reading sprints every single day of next week, so definitely a book I could smash out during one of those reading sprints, fingers crossed. This book basically follows our main character Nick, who goes home for Thanksgiving with his family and is trying to get set up by his mum for a date. However, when he goes back to his family home, he realizes that his brother is dating the girl that he kind of really likes, and I think it's about him trying to sabotage his brother's relationship and try and stop his mum matchmaking him so he can take the girl his brother's with, I think. I don't know, it sounds like a really fun, humorous read, and it's only like 130 pages, so what can go wrong? Definitely one I'm going to try and get to next week for sure. Probably one I'm going to start with just so I have like one under my belt after day one. I think that's a really good tactic, so definitely might do that. The next book I would love to get to next week is The Trouble of Hating You by Patel, and this book is about our main character Leah. You can see a trend here where she goes home for a dinner party at her parents', and she is trying to get set up by her mum to this guy that she's never met before, and she's like, no mum, I don't want to, leave me alone, I'm a biochemistry engineer, like I have my life sorted, I don't need a man, sort of thing. And then when her company is in trouble, she brings in a lawyer to try and help her out, and guess who the lawyer is? The guy that her parents tried to set her up with. So I think this is going to be a really fun adult romance as well, and I cannot wait to get to it. Talking about all these books, I just want to get to all of them next week, but 8 books next week is going to be impossible. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I will try my best because I do want to get to all of these books fairly soon, but I kind of just compiled the list so I had options to pick between next week rather than having a really strict TBR, because I am definitely more in a reading mood at the minute. Very strange for me. I usually love like ticking off books off my TBR. I don't usually stray away from my TBR very often, but May is like flipping the cards for me. All I want to do is mood read, so I thought just compiling a list of 8 books and having to read only like 4 or 5 of them will just give me a little bit more freedom. But at the minute I'm wanting to read all of the books I'm listing in today's video, so we'll see what I actually read next week. But I am actually vlogging it, so if you want to see what I actually read, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss my weekly reading vlog. That will be coming out the week after the readathon happens, because I will be vlogging my entire experience next week, reading and joining in with the readathon. The 8th book I would love to get to next week is Make a Scene by Mimi Grace. This is once again a really short book, only 240 pages. A great book that I can read just in one day and just get it done and get another book under my belt, because that's what readathon is for. Yes. And this book is a fake dating trope book, and I love me some fake dating. If it's done well and I just want the characters to actually get together even though they're just fake dating, I absolutely love it. I don't know why, and I actually don't read as many as I would like, so this one definitely caught my attention when I read the blurb. And this book basically follows Rita, who when her ex gets engaged to her cousin, she is like, I can't do this alone. So she asks our love interest, Duncan, I assume he's the love interest, to be her date to the wedding so she doesn't have to basically go through it alone. And when the lines of fake boyfriend and girlfriend start to blur, a romance ensues, and it's only 260 pages, so I really do want to get to it next week because I think it's just going to be a really cute, light-hearted read, perfect for a readathon, especially with that perfect page count of less than 300 pages. I love to see it. So there we have it. Those are the 8 books I am planning to read next week. Am I planning to read them all? I would love to, but am I actually going to? Probably not. If you want to find out, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss that weekly reading vlog like I suggested earlier, so you can actually see exactly what I read, what I thought about the books, etc, etc. I am so excited for this readathon, and making this TBR video has made me even more excited to read all the books I have mentioned. If you are interested in any books I have mentioned, I always leave links to the Goodreads pages of them down below, so make sure you check the description box down below to check all of the information out. And I think that kind of wraps up today's video. If you enjoyed it, make sure you give it a massive thumbs up. Comment down below if you're participating in next week's readathon and what your goals are for the week. I would love to know, and make sure I'm definitely not alone. And subscribe so you never miss any more future content from me. I do anything from book hauls, reading vlogs, TBR games, and book recommendations. So I have it all here on this channel for you, so make sure you're subscribed so you never miss a thing, and I will see you in my next video. Bye guys.